Armada Book 2 Chapter for the Excluded. August 2059. Eric arrived at the office of Gotanen. Gotanen greeted Eric. "Hi Eric, you're early. I brought a case of one of our best brands of brandy just for you. It's my favorite brand." "Thank you Eric. I appreciate the thought. I have re-engineered your video surveillance equipment. Now it transmits using the signals we use in our TP communications devices, which is longer range. It's really like our new probes, self-powered, and has the ability to self-destruct. If you can see it from a remote monitor, then you can beam the item you see, just point at the object and it is tagged for that moment enough to beam it out. What we created was a much smaller video probe and another one even smaller than this. How many do I get? Now I have about 10,000 of those and some 2,000 of the tiny ones. If you wait a day I can produce another 10,000. I think I can live with the 12,000, but send 20,000 more to my ship. I will be near Earth. I strongly suggest that you produce 1,000,000 of these and send it to Tonen, Andrew, and Gantley. We use these like tag pens. I will have my people do as you say. Our people will do anything for our fighting men." Eric described his work and asked Gotanen if he knows of any good Norset hacking group and if he does to send to him at his ship near Earth. Gotanen said he does know of several younger Norset scientists involved in this area and he would talk to them. "I appreciate your quick action on my needs, but I have to go." "Thank you. I appreciate the brandy." "Thank you Eric." Eric left with a large box of the small video probes. In less than 4 hours he was at his ship near planet Los Angeles. Eric arrived near Earth and parked the Prometheus behind the moon. He beamed to the USSP Baker's mission room with Kristen, his hologram. Keel Mill from General Allen's command was already there waiting for him. "Hi Keel Mill, it's been a long time since I saw you," Eric said. "Yes Eric, Allen assigned me to you to follow up on the kidnapping case." Colonel Linda Bourne appeared in the mission room. "Hello Colonel Joyce, Keel Mill, Jen Lakova assigned me to the case and I will brief you on what has transpired since you left." Linda started. "Based on our investigation, the main perpetrators of the kidnapping case were businessmen from New York connected with some mafia underworld figures, and this group was led by a businessman in California. They hired ex-military personnel to do the dirty work. The reason why they kidnapped our personnel was for industrial espionage purposes. We had 3 guys from different groups point to one man as the mastermind, and now that guy is in custody. The mastermind turned out to be one of the 5 richest persons in California. His name is Jason Lim, an avid supporter of the president. His arraignment is pending, and as you can imagine his top-notch lawyers are doing all they can to delay the case. Thanks Linda. Will you permit me to download all the video recordings, all the tags and historical movements of the tagged persons and all their information?" Eric asked. Linda continued, "Your ship can get all the information you want anytime. I believe it should be downloading it now as we speak." Kristen appeared beside Eric. "I have all the information Eric. Your hologram is so pretty," Linda commented. "She is also very smart and she learns fast." "I'm sure she does. What would you like me to do?" "General Lakova told me to assist you in this case, whatever you want to do." "He said that? You're GX1, you know stuff of legends." "GX1 is not really into the image and legend stuff. We were just doing our job." "You're too modest." "Anyway, offhand I do not think the buck stops at Mr. Lim. A supporter of the president comes out with a plan to steal technology? It's just too easy. If the lawyers delay his sentencing until after the election 3 years from now, he could be pardoned by the next president." "Why would a very rich person become the fall guy?" Linda asked. "Keel Mill, why would a rich person agree to be the fall guy?" Eric asked. Keel Mill was roused from his thoughts. The stakes are higher." "Kristen, how would the trial of this guy affect the secrecy of our activities? Will there be an increase in probability of outing all of this?" Eric asked. "Eric, there will be an increase of the probability of the president being forced into revealing the secret." "And what will happen if the president is pressured to out this secret before his term ends?" Linda followed. Eric added, "Will there be a possibility of impeachment or a possibility that the president's chosen candidate will lose?" "Impeachment may be started, but the success of this action is unlikely. The impeachment scenario will weaken the president's chosen successor's chance of success." Kristen said. "What happens if the president voluntarily outs the secret? Will this cause his impeachment?" Keel Mill asked. "No, the probability is higher that it will help him." Kristen answered. "So that could be a probable cause then?" Eric said. Linda countered, "A conspiracy theory will always have probable cause and traceable cause and effect. The probable cause may not be true. If you were on the other party and you see the nation growing at 8%, which is improbable by any economics book, surely you will conclude that it will take some doing to win against the people who made the US rich. Eric said, and I want to tag all the members of the Senate and Congress from both sides. Eric, that would be treason. Linda said. As you said, I'm GX1. Keelmill added, not even the president will do this. But if you want to, Eric, I will have my best people do the job for you. Linda was visibly upset, but Eric stood firm. Look, Linda, I know you think this is beyond our duties. My duty is for our country, but now I have also a duty for all humanity, and if this affects the security of several galaxies, then it is my duty also to preserve the relationships between humans and the aliens. And besides, no one will ever know or will be able to prove anything in court. That night at the Prometheus mission room, Eric, Linda, and Keelmill reviewed the videos. They played the timeline view of tag movements of those tagged earlier for several months. None came in contact with any of the politicians until they found two faces common to some politicians and the businessman in question. Keelmill dispatched a Mac team to put the new video probes in all the areas the two faces may have been for at least 10 minutes, including their homes and offices. They even put videos on the neighbors' homes. Can bug detectors trace the video cameras? Linda asked. Eric explained, not these, they emit a different set of signals unknown to Earth technology. They can tag for Kristen whatever we see, they are self-powered and cloaked and can self-destruct. I do not think anybody can find these babies. After several days, the trail on the two faces turned out to be false leads. What surprised them was the meeting between one senator in the president's party with 7 congressmen, 1 governor and 1 senator from the other party. They immediately put video probes in all the places the target persons go to. The meeting is not abnormal between parties, but what was abnormal was that they met in the same building as one of the kidnapped personnel, and their tag timeline movements showed that they did this on a Sunday night. After the meeting they bugged the whole place. Eric sent out their regular cloaked probes over the houses and offices of the target persons. After 6 weeks of surveillance they got lucky. It was a Saturday night. They observed from the mission room of Eric's ship that the targets were moving and seemed to be converging in the same building. They beamed Max on the ground and the Max trailed them as they walked towards the building. Then one target walked past the building and went to a building across the street. The 4 cloaked Max ran to catch up, one positioned himself ahead while the other 3 were on both sides and at the back of the target. Once the target entered the elevator, only one got in while the others waited for visual telepath from the Mac in the elevator. Kristen beamed the 3 ahead when the target pushed the floor button. The target entered an office without knocking, squeezing himself as if to prevent anybody from entering at the same time. He closed the door but did not lock it. It was a home belonging to a businessman from Texas. Several Macs were beamed in to set up the video probes. In 3 minutes they were all done. Eric, he is Congressman David. Kristen said, pointing to one of several screens floating in front of them. I know who he is, Eric said. Did he detect anything? Linda asked. Congressman David was talking on his phone. Where are you guys? Did security see anyone follow me? Okay, good, I'll just wait. Okay, I'll do that. Congressman David then pulled a bug detector from one of the cabinets and moved around to detect if there are any bugs. After a few minutes, the gang started to arrive. They sat around the dining table while their bodyguards stood around. 3 were still going around with the bug detectors. They played the video surveillance camera from a remote recording and found none has entered the home. Last month we agreed that we reassure Jason not to worry and that we will win the election and that he will be pardoned. Senator Paris said. Look, our immediate concern is how to use this case as an impeachable offense on the part of the president. Senator Rain said. Linda noted, Senator Rain is in the same party as the president and he is retiring his seat. But his son will run for the same seat with the presidential endorsement. The impeachment does not have to be good. We know it will fail, but we can maneuver it to make it work against the president so his party will lose the election. Congressman Zimmern commented. That's conspiracy for you, Linda. Eric said, turning to Linda. Linda just smiled at Eric. We have several options that we all discussed earlier. Now we must decide which ones had the highest probability of success. Paris said. David added, I'd say Jason accuses the president of conspiring with fusion manufacturers and pocketing huge fees that he did not agree to pay. We can create an account in Hong Kong and deposit a few millions. Then we can mess up the issue by not matching the money the Treasury has with the commission receipts from the manufacturers. They collected more than what was stated because they were collecting money on the side. I have to agree that when we planted Jason as the fall guy, this was the deciding option. We just have to decide how Jason will deliver the punches. Paris said. I think the time must be correct. Right now is too early because when the impeachment loses steam the president may still make a comeback. This means that we should deploy a little over a year before election so the impeachment is still hot and undecided. But by then our candidate would be posturing already and they will delay their candidate as long as they can. Just enough for their primaries. Rain said. One of the congressmen argued the timing Rain proposed was too late and that there are moves to make the impeachment last longer. For one, the Treasury money can be tied to the impeachment. What I don't get is his move to acquire countries into the US fold. If he wins more people into Congress midterm, he might just get his wish list and this might alter the issues at hand. Paris said. Another congressman explained how this would affect elections in the long term. The gang deliberated for more than 2 hours. One even suggested assassination, but they do not want to have blood on their hands but did not completely kill the idea. They have decided on the punches but not the timing of the punches. They promised to meet again in a month's time. They left and Kristen assigned a different set of Macs to follow them into the night. Eric and Linda were quiet. Keelmill was quiet as well. Eric, Keelmill, I know a nice place for a good cup of coffee. Linda offered. She gave Kristen the address and the three found themselves in a parking lot with Chinese characters. Linda led them out in the open and it was mid-afternoon. They're in Hong Kong and Linda led them to a plush hotel lobby and sat on chairs near a bar. A waiter approached them and Linda spoke to him in Chinese. She asked for 3 cups of coffee. You speak Chinese? Eric asked surprised. And French, German, Spanish, Portuguese and Russian. But you don't speak Italian? Eric added. No, but do you? No, I only speak English. But I am open to learning. Linda laughed at his answer. Where are we, Linda? Keelmill asked. We're in Hong Kong. We got used to this because working late means all the US shops are closed, so we go to where the time zone is different. I can see you enjoy your job very much. Eric observed. You have no idea how I love my work. But this recent revelation is very upsetting to me. Why is that? Keelmill asked. Those politicians play really dirty. I can understand mudslinging, but conspiracy to impeach and misinformation is beyond me. Okay, Eric, you'll tell me I told you so. I would like to tell you like an intellectual would, but in a shooting war we just say fuck that shit. The three laughed, Linda a bit louder than the two. What's our next move? Linda asked. For the next several weeks we gather more videos and surveillance and try to get in on their next meeting. This time we will be more targeted or concentrated on these bad boys. Then we tag their known accomplices like the owner of the home and bug their lives as well. How would this play go down? Linda asked. The way I look at the end game playing out is like this. We can show the videos to the president. The president will hold on to them and keep them for later use. Then our job is over. As they were on their second cup, Kristen appeared walking from the restroom. I believe you should see what happened after the meeting. Kristen said. They stood up and Linda paid the cashier. They went to the restrooms and beamed out. In Eric's ship, they could see 3 guys in 3 screens having sex with girls. One had 2 girls while the other 2 had just 1 each. So what's the deal on the sex tapes, Kristen? Eric asked. Eric, look at the girl having sexual relations with Senator Rain. Wait, I remember this girl also had sexual relations with Senator Paris. She is Senator Rain's daughter. Kristen said. Eric was stunned. As you would say, Eric, this is some fucking shit. Linda said. Suddenly a video hollow screen lights up. Kristen started, this is Congressman David with 2 men. I believe they will have sexual relations shortly. Okay, are we getting lucky or what? Eric commented. These are so damning, if these leaks their careers are done. Linda said. I believe we have an appointment with the president tomorrow morning. Can you inform Daisy please, Kristen? Eric said. So our job will be over soon, I hope. Linda said. Maybe not yet. It all depends on the president. I would like to retire now. Kristen, keep the videos coming. Tell the Macs to follow them every second of their waking hours. Rotate the Macs so they don't feel too tense and anxious. I will stay here for a bit. I have a room at the space station. There is no point looking at the videos. I will retire now. Kristen, show me to my room please. Keelmill said. The next day Eric was up early and he found Linda in the mission room already. Keelmill just stepped into the room. Hi Linda, did you sleep or what? Eric asked. Yes I did and I brought coffee. The president confirmed a meeting at 11:45 a.m. Can I invite you to breakfast? Keelmill asked quietly. Let's go. Linda said. First I want to apologize Linda, but I looked at your records last night. You don't have to apologize, it's your job and I looked at yours too. I found out you have a doctorate in sociology from Cambridge and a doctorate in chemistry from Humboldt University in Berlin. You flew combat missions in the last war. I am really impressed. Well, obviously not as impressive as you since I did not make it into any of the GX teams. You simply have different set of talents and skill sets. And you are also unmarried, which I find rather very odd. You're very kind, Eric. Sometimes I like to work on science projects, but sometimes I like to do military stuff like this one. I have not found any person that interests me. If you want to transfer, I know this group that is researching on a new source of energy from a stone. They need a chemist. I am happy to be working near Earth, and I have a home in planet Los Angeles. What kind of person would interest you, Linda? Keelmill asked out of the blue. A very humble person with nothing to show but himself. Keelmill noted, Eric is unmarried, and after all that they have done across the galaxies, he is the same person, very regular. Eric and I have a professional relationship, and as you have seen, I do not agree with some of his ways. If I get screwed with what I did, it is no different from being shot. And I have been shot several times before. I just want to do my job well and protect our people from being kidnapped again. Linda suddenly jumped. Let's pursue another route. I guess it is possible. Eric said. You mean investigate another theory? Keelmill asked. Yes, something's wrong. None of the bad guys is the top dog. Linda said. The final beneficiary is unknown to us. Eric added. Kristen, who are the 10 most probable presidential candidates? Show them in front and rank them, please. Linda asked. Give me a minute, Linda. They are really giving Kristen a hard time. Eric said, and Linda smiled. 10 holograms show up with numbers on top of their heads. Present a timeline of the movement of tags to these 10 and our bad boys. Eric said. After a few minutes, the timeline presentation was finished. Rank them based on their interactions with the bad boys. Put the numbers on top of their heads. Put the number of all phone calls to and contacts with the bad boys below that number. Eric added. There's our man. Linda said. Kristen explained, Senator Todd Elkins. His numbers constitute 90% of all the calls and tag meetings among the total with the bad boys group. Let's give this guy the works. Eric said. This is getting more sinister. Why would Elkins do these? Just for the presidency or some other purpose? It could not possibly be money. Keelmill asked. I want to see his relationship with the Chinese and Russians. Eric said. Keelmill noted, our meeting will be in 2 hours if you guys did not notice. They spent the remaining time sorting out the videos they wanted to show the president. They were almost done when Daisy appeared and said that the big guy will beam in around 5 minutes. They scrambled to fix the mission room and making sure the screens are properly tilted. In 5 minutes the president appeared and said, Hi Eric, Linda, and Keelmill. I know this is important, but I only have 15 minutes. Albert appeared with Harold. Eric started, Please sit down, Mr. President, Mr. Secretary. The videos ran for 8 minutes, then the sex videos ran for a minute. The president was stunned. The female with Senator Rain is his daughter. The same female has sexual relations with Senator Paris. Linda noted. Our analysis show that Senator Elkin is the guy attempting for the presidency. But the real motives are not yet apparent to us. Eric said. You three have done well. Very well. This changes a lot of things going forward. Of course you will tell me as soon as you ascertain the real motives. Albert said. We have some theories why, but we need time to validate them. We are continuously getting video feeds from Elkins and the targets every day unless you order us to stop. Eric said. Albert stood up and went to Eric and embraced him. He went to Linda and Keelmill and embraced them as well. You could probably shall have saved my life from these monsters. How do you want to play this out, Mr. President? Eric asked. Continue your surveillance and make sure you get to the bottom of this. The Secret Service will take over later, I just need to know who to trust. As you must already know, timing and pricing is important when releasing or not releasing these. Oh, and by the way, I did not authorize these acts of treason. Thank you, Mr. President, we will make sure these treasonous acts will receive justice. Eric said. Albert nodded in agreement and gave a dry smile. The president stood quiet for a minute and, Daisy, Harold, let's go to my next meeting. He was shaken, it was so obvious. Linda said. We still have to work for a month or so. Eric said. Now you have made the most powerful man on the planet more powerful. Keelmill commented. And a little sad. Eric added. What is it that the Chinese and Russians do not have that the other countries have? Keelmill asked. We are not too keen in helping them with their requests for money. You know, since the US started the fusion economy, our national debt was erased in less than a year. The US dollar has become more expensive, especially for the Chinese and Russians, and they are now large borrowers of the US. Linda said. Those issues are common to both. And I believe one of the reasons they are in the hole is because they are excluded from our off-world activities. Eric said. Let's say you are correct, Eric. This assumes that they know about our off-world activities. Second, that they see benefit from our off-world activities that is strong enough to kill a US president. Keelmill said. Linda nodded. I would agree with Eric. Kristen, can you show us the price of diamond and gold in the past 12 months? Eric said. There's a big dip in the diamond prices 10 months ago, then a bounce up here, then a steady price easing. Gold kept climbing until a month ago when it dipped, then went back up, then a steady decline. Linda said. Kristen, can you get in touch with Maria please? Eric said. Maria appeared as a hologram. What's up, Eric? We were watching the price of diamond and I believe you unloaded a lot 10 months ago. And gold dipped last month and climbed back up, then a steady decline. Yes, I cleaned up the warehouse I was to use and sold off the diamond left behind. I still have about 2 tons in my ship. As for the gold, Edna got them from the Bofengs and sold them, and that caused the dip. Did you sell them to any Chinese or Russian businessmen? Eric asked. We had a broker and the broker did not know where we got them, and they do not tell the buyer who we, the sellers, are. I would not know who they sold them to. Why, Eric? There might be a leak. Somebody must have tipped off the Chinese and Russians about our off-world activities. Eric said. We suspected that because Edna said our brokers had a lot of Chinese and Russian inquiries. Do you want us to stop? Maria asked. No, tell Edna not to be too aggressive. Let me deal with the Chinese and Russians. Maria laughed. Don't worry, Eric, I will keep my friend out of trouble. Bye. What's with Edna? Linda asked. Eric related the story Maria told him about Edna, and Linda laughed. Yeah, that's my kind of girl. Linda raised her fisted hand. Keelmill started. They must be monitoring a lot of things besides their balance of trade and amount of money owed to the US. Maria's activities are just one of those they are finding odd. Then they see scientists getting off work and dropping out from the grid. Not just scientists, but the best ones from a lot of countries. They see no aggressive spending on space travel and in fact a downsizing. Then they see a buildup of military personnel, but they cannot figure out where they are. But then they see the US selling of a lot of military equipment which does not follow, with no new spending on new ships and planes or any other hardware. Then they see the other countries changing their spending from sciences to agriculture and from manufacturing to increased military personnel but no military equipment. They see a boom in agriculture and they see the military commissary is buying a lot. They see new technologies being introduced by government research facilities that show no sizable activities in the immediate past. They see old-timers leaving hospices and long-term care and just dropped out of the grid. The list goes on. The excluded wants to be included. Linda concluded. There is logic there, but we need proof. Eric said. You know we have Chinese and Russian-speaking Macs who can plant video probes tag the targets. Keelmill said. You, sir, are a magician, a wizard of the highest order. Unleash the horde to the enemy leaders. Eric said, laughing. The horde is away, Lord Eric. Keelmill countered. Lord Eric and Keelmill the wizard, it's feast time and I need sustenance. We will follow you to the feast, Lady Linda. They went straight to the mess hall and got 2 plates of food each. You know, Lord Eric, I never realized you painted your ship blue and green. Lady Linda, my subjects elected the colors that will surround them. It was bright yellow and orange 2 months ago and people realized it's bad for the eyes. Keelmill explained, it started with King Andrew's ship. It was so well appointed compared to the regular Vintas, so in order to look better, the best thing they can do is paint it. Ellie's ship is pink and violet with a lot of plants and flowers all over the ship. Tony's ship is bright red, white and blue with a lot of American flags. After lunch they went back to the mission room and some videos from Senator Elkin and the Chinese ambassador are being shown on the screens. They are talking about a certain Chinese company that had failed in California. Linda said. Elkin is talking about his forthcoming trip to Russia. Eric said. You know I can speak and read English also. Linda noted. I read that the Chinese ambassador belongs to the very few Chinese elite whose family have become very wealthy when China opened up to foreign investments a long time ago. I think he is the grandson of one of the highest in Chinese leadership. Keelmill said. He is also part of the tainted list from the Secretary of State. Linda added. Why don't we focus our attention on the highest leaders and their families in China? Russia pretty much have the same setup. Keelmill continued. Eric noted, I think there is an ongoing operation against the Russian mob by the Department of Defense. The DoD is draining them of their hard-earned mob money. And part of the mob money are being laundered in state companies. If we do not focus, this investigation will drag for months on end. Linda said. Let's focus on the controlling families in China. With Russia, let's focus on the oligarchs and their families. I don't think they will run to more than 10,000 people. Eric said. We can coordinate with the president's office in the surveillance. They probably have information on these people already. Linda said. That's true, Lady Linda. Keelmill said. Kristen appeared. Lord Eric, King Andrew wants to see you in Planet Los Angeles. Kristen, announced to King Andrew that we will see him at his palace. Keelmill the wizard, we will take your leave and I am certain you will keep an eye on our adversaries. Lady Linda will come with me. Keelmill the wizard, make sure the tags include the powerful also. Kristen, beam us out now please. As you wish your ladyship. Eric and Linda were beamed at the back of Andrew's house just as they were finishing dinner. The usual gang was there, Ellie and her parents, Julia and Danny, Maria and Edna, Tony, and Layla. Kristen announced, King Andrew, Lord Eric and Lady Linda as you requested. Andrew played along. Lord Eric, I wish to know what you and Lady Linda have found out. First of all, King Andrew, I want to know if his lordship and ladyship has eaten already. Vicky said. We have feasted your ladyship. Linda said. Eric introduced Linda to the group. I like being called Lady Ellie. Edna, a lady, give me a break. Maria quipped. They all laughed. Have some wine and brandy. Vicky offered. She gave a glass to the two and poured wine for Linda. Eric got himself some brandy. I had a preliminary presentation to the president and he was saddened, but became more powerful. Kristen, please show the video presentation we showed the president except the sex scenes. Eric started. There are sex scenes, Lord Eric? Timmy asked. Linda answered, yes your lordship, but we will just tell you who the participants were but will not show the actual movie. I want to see the movie. Timmy said. No you don't your lordship. Elaine countered. As you wish my lady. Ellie sat by her father and rubbed his back to appease his shattered ego. Kristen showed their presentation as they showed it to Albert, including the determination of Senator Elkin as the primary beneficiary. Then Eric told them who the participants were in the sex scenes. The audience was quiet for a moment. Linda told them about the president's reaction, how he embraced and thanked each one of them, how he wanted to know the real motivation behind Elkin, and the president told them that he did not authorize the treason she and Eric committed. Lady Linda, Keelmill the wizard and I believe that the motivation involved the Chinese and Russians connected to Senator Elkin. Right now our taggers are busy with the Chinese and Russians. Lady Linda concludes the excluded wants to be included. Eric said. Senator Elkin is head of the Foreign Affairs Committee and I really find him spooky. Julia said. I feel the noose is getting tighter in outing the off-world activities. Andrew said. Eric repeated what Keelmill said about the Chinese and Russians finding odd things happening everywhere. If Albert plays his cards well, he will have his cake and eat it too, and Lord Eric just gave him all the aces. And if he gets proof of the real motives, a straight flush. Timmy said. Why don't we just kidnap the Chinese and Russian leaders, replace them with our own using the chameleon devices, and let the replacements start real democratic reforms? The Marantais turned out well. Tony said. Layla was just listening. That would be the easy way out, Lord Tony. Andrew said. Right now we are just gathering proof of their involvement and try to ascertain the real reasons why Elkin would collaborate with them. Linda said. If Russia and China agreed to place second to the US being the leader, that would be a bonus for the president. The two excluded countries in return will now be included in the off-world expansion. But this will not happen because the two countries will never agree to place second to the US. Julia said. Let me get this straight, we are not excluding the Chinese and Russians, only their governments, right? Vicky asked. That is correct, my queen. Tony looked at Layla. You are my queen as well, my lady. Tony told her as he kissed her hand. How would this play out, Lord Eric, assuming you find their direct involvement and their motivation being they just want to be included? Timmy asked. Andrew explained, Lord Timmy, I believe if their motives were ascertained to be their need to be included, then Albert can dangle this in front of them like a carrot on a stick without necessarily offering or confirming it. The problem there, Lord Eric, is that King Albert and his successor will not really agree to let them be included unless certain conditions are met. However, if the diplomacy results in their promise and realization of actual social reforms, then they will consider it. Julia added. Kristen announced, King Albert, Lord Harold and Lady Daisy will be arriving in 5 minutes. When Albert and his group arrived, Kristen announced their presence. Andrew greeted the group. King Albert, welcome to my palace. What's with the King Andrew and King Albert? Albert asked. Here, King Albert, have some of King Andrew's best brandy. Here, Lord Harold and Lady Daisy, wine, or brandy? Vicky asked, ever gracious, poured brandy to Harold and wine for Daisy. Lord Eric here just reported to King Andrew his latest findings on the kidnappings. Timmy said. Well, Lord Eric and Lady Linda, I presume, are both right in their conjectures. I earlier asked Harold to confirm their theories, and when I realized you are all here I decided to come along and talk to your lordships. Albert said. Tony and Layla got some chairs from inside the house and set them beside Albert and Harold. Albert nodded a thank you to Tony and sat down. Thanks Tony, as you know, we have Max out there doing research and information gathering and they confirm the Chinese and Russian involvement with Elkin. Lord Eric's job is not done since our reports are based on Mac experiences, not video probes. Harold said. Lord Eric, you have video probes? Ellie asked. Eric related his discussion with Gotenin and the information on the new smaller video probes. And yes, King Andrew, Gotenin will mass-produce them and send to all the Armada ships. Eric said. Well done your lordship. Andrew said. So King Albert, how do you see this playing out? Julia asked. Lady Julia, first I have to deal with the porn stars, then their minions, and when Lord Eric and Lady Linda gives me good videos of our adversaries, then I can dangle this as a carrot to them to make them do our bidding. Timmy added, we figured that much King Albert, but as we know they will not get to be included if they do not perform actual social reforms which takes time. Albert continued, my successor will deal with them. But until then they will be tamed pit bulls. They will only play along if the rewards are better than going against you. Timmy said. Albert nodded, we'll see, I would like to deal with their minions first and if the bit players are eliminated then they will have no other option. King Ali, in the coming months our activities off-world would be increasing and the rate of increase is increasing as well. You have to devise an outing strategy that we can implement all the way until your successor come on board. We have included a lot of countries and the more countries we bring in, the more risk we face. In fact I have downsized our activities in getting countries included. And the foreign nationals, military, and civilians, as their numbers increase and they have at least tripled, the riskier our cover-up gets. Julia said. If I may speak, King Albert, from our perspective, the cover-up is really hard. When we started a communications and mail service for mail and packages from Earth to the planets or vice versa, it was ironic comedy. We were opening up communications or mail but cannot show where the communications and mail are going to or coming from. The barter trade has the most risk of blowing up the secret not only from me and Edna but from our people as well employed or otherwise. They have no loyalty like the military. And a lot of our military personnel, they buy things from Earth and sell or just give them away to our alien friends. I just think a timetable would make our planning easier. Maria said. Why don't we suspend any increase in people going off-world except for military and families of those already off-world? At least this will reduce the risk for the moment. Harold said. Why don't we play a ruse? Andrew asked. I'm listening my king. The group is already starting to laugh. Okay, this is not a joke. Imagine an alien ship landing on the White House lawn. All the White House press people gather outside. An alien appears and wants to talk to the president. The president comes out and talks to the alien. So now the alien goes on live national TV and tells the world that he was sent to establish relations if the planet fulfills certain conditions which the alien does not want to tell. Andrew gets a glass of brandy and fills it up. He continues, so the alien keeps everybody busy asking questions but the alien says very little about their world but prefers asking the questions and observing. The aliens go around the world and look at things, gets interviewed but says little. The conclusion is that now the focus is on the alien and not on us. Also, the people will now be more accepting of an alien encounter and we could judge this acceptance and even change it to our liking. I think my dad told me a story similar to what you are saying from a show called Zone Light or Twilight something. Danny said. What's the story all about? Julia asked. Danny continued, the alien that appeared in the story threatened to blow up Earth if they do not meet certain conditions which the alien does not want to say. So the Earth people thought the alien wanted peace on Earth so they created peace treaties all over the place. In the end the alien said they were not looking for peace among the Earthlings but the most war-capable country or race. So the Earth got blown up. Andrew countered, or after a few months the alien leaves and promises to come back after 4 or so years. The effect of this would be the Earth people now are just on a waiting posture and would not be surprised of an alien presence. We can slowly break the off-world world to Earth via this alien encounter. The idea is fascinating. But whatever the alien does good or bad, our enemies will make it appear bad and blame it on me. Albert said. If you let me, King Albert, I can form a committee which includes off-world foreign leaders from the other countries and come out with a recommendation on actions and timetable that we can adopt to outing this state of affairs. Julia offered. Okay, include Harold and Alan in your united off-world nations. Don't take too long though. We have to assess the present state of off-world affairs on Earth so we can determine the risks involved so it may take some time. Harold added. And you have to expect the various nations to have their own committees to come out with recommendations from their side of the world. Julia added. That's a very good idea, King Albert. Timmy said. What are you talking about, Lord Timmy? Andrew asked. I believe the time is ripe to form an off-world United Planets. Timmy said. Wow, Lord Timmy, do you know what forming this United Planets involve? Julia asked. Lord Timmy is right, whatever the concern, Lady Julia, we have to start somewhere. And an earlier timing is better than later. Andrew said. Eric approached the table to get the brandy bottle. He poured into the emptying glasses of the group.